The Apache woman fell to her knees. "I can serve you if you let me live." The story begins in a time when life was not peaceful on the land. Different groups lived in the same wide territory, but they did not always trust each other. There were misunderstandings, fear, and long-standing disagreements. The land was beautiful, with open skies, tall mountains, and long rivers, but the people were living in worry. Every day could bring change. Every sound in the distance could mean danger. In such a time, survival was not easy for anyone. The Apache woman lived in a small community where people depended on each other. Life was simple but hard. They worked together to find food, gather water, and protect their families. She had grown up learning how to be strong. From a young age, she was taught to respect nature and to stay alert. She knew how to move quietly. She knew how to listen carefully. She understood that patience and courage were important for survival. Her life was not full of comfort, but it was full of meaning. She was known in her group as a calm and thoughtful person. She did not speak too much, but when she did, people listened. She helped with daily tasks and supported others when they felt tired. Even in difficult times, she tried to stay positive. She believed that hope was something no one could take away. This belief gave her strength during long days and cold nights. However, the peace in her area did not last forever. Tension between communities had been growing for some time. Rumors traveled quickly. People became nervous. Small disagreements slowly turned into bigger problems. When fear spreads, it becomes harder to think clearly. Some people acted before understanding each other. This created more confusion and danger. One day, events changed her life completely. A sudden attack on her community caused panic. The sound of movement and shouting filled the air. People ran in different directions. Families tried to stay together. Smoke rose in the distance, and the calm morning turned into chaos. In that moment, she felt her heart beating fast. She had never experienced such fear before. Even though she had trained herself to stay strong, this situation was different. She tried to stay close to her relatives, but everything happened very quickly. In the confusion, she became separated from her group. The land that once felt familiar suddenly seemed large and uncertain. She could hear voices, but she could not see clearly. Her mind was filled with thoughts. She wondered what would happen next. She thought about her family and whether they were safe. These thoughts made her feel heavy inside, but she knew she had to stay calm. Soon, she realized that she was no longer free to move as she wished. People from the other side had surrounded the area. She understood that her situation had changed. Fear tried to take over her thoughts, but she refused to let it control her completely. She remembered the lessons she had learned about patience. She knew that acting without thinking could make things worse. As she was guided away from her home area, she looked back one last time. The land looked quiet again, but her heart was full of emotion. She did not know when or if she would return. The path ahead was unknown. Each step she took felt like a step into a new and uncertain world. Still, she tried to walk with dignity. She did not want to show weakness, even though she felt deep sadness inside. During the journey, she observed carefully. She paid attention to the people around her. She noticed their expressions and behavior. She understood that understanding others could help her survive. She kept her thoughts controlled and avoided showing anger. She knew that emotions could sometimes create more danger. Instead, she focused on staying composed. As time passed, she began to think about her options. She understood that her life depended on the decisions she made in that moment. She could resist and face serious consequences, or she could try a different approach. She thought deeply about her family, her future, and the possibility of living another day. She believed that life was precious. Even in difficult situations, she felt that there was always a chance for change. In her heart, she made a decision. She would speak calmly and honestly. She would show that she was not a threat. She hoped that showing respect might save her life. It was not easy for her to accept this plan. She had been raised to be strong and independent. But she also knew that wisdom sometimes meant choosing survival over pride. When she was brought before the people responsible for her capture, she felt nervous but steady. Her hands were not shaking, even though her mind was active. She looked at them with a serious expression. She did not shout or cry. Instead, she waited for the right moment to speak. She understood that timing was important. Finally, she lowered herself to the ground. This action was not from defeat but from strategy. It was a sign that she wanted peace. With a clear voice, she expressed her willingness to work and serve if they allowed her to live. Her words were simple but powerful. She explained that she wanted to survive and build a future. She showed that she was ready to cooperate and learn. The people who heard her were surprised. They expected fear or resistance, but instead they saw calm determination. Her behavior made them pause and think. Some of them discussed quietly among themselves. They considered her request carefully. Her honesty and humility left an impression. It showed them that she valued life deeply. While waiting for their decision, she remained still. She did not rush or beg repeatedly. She trusted that her actions had spoken clearly. In that silent moment, she felt both vulnerable and strong at the same time. Vulnerable because her future was uncertain, and strong because she had chosen courage over panic. The environment around her was unfamiliar. The sounds, the clothing, and the customs were different from what she had known. But she reminded herself that people can adapt. She had learned from nature that survival requires flexibility. Just like the seasons change, human life also changes. She accepted that this new chapter might shape her in ways she could not yet understand. Her story in this first part is about transition. It is about moving from one world to another. It is about fear turning into determination. She did not know what would happen next, but she had already taken the most important step. She chose to speak instead of remaining silent in fear. She chose to show respect instead of anger. That choice became the foundation of everything that followed. This moment marked the beginning of a new journey. The challenges were not over, but she had shown inner strength. Her life was no longer only about survival in her homeland. It was about survival in a completely new situation. With patience, intelligence, and courage, she prepared herself for whatever would come next. The future was uncertain, but she was ready to face it one step at a time. After she spoke those careful words, the air felt very heavy. She was still on her knees, waiting. Her heart was beating fast, but her face remained calm. She did not look down in shame. She kept her eyes steady, showing that her request was serious. In her mind, she was thinking clearly. She knew that this moment could decide her future. Every second felt long. She understood that silence could be powerful, so she did not speak again. She had already said what she needed to say. The people around her were also quiet. They were not used to hearing such words in such a situation. Many expected anger, fear, or resistance. Instead, they saw humility. Some looked at each other, unsure what to do. Others studied her expression. They noticed that she was not pretending. Her voice had been steady. Her posture showed respect. This made them think differently about her. For a few minutes, no one moved. The only sounds were the wind and distant natural noises. The woman stayed still. Even though her legs felt tired from kneeling, she did not show discomfort. She believed that patience was important. She reminded herself that this was not a time for pride. It was a time for survival. She had learned from life that sometimes strength means knowing when to stay quiet. The leaders among the group began to discuss her situation. They spoke in low voices. Some believed she could be useful. Others were not fully convinced. They considered the risks and the benefits. They talked about trust, responsibility, and behavior. They observed her carefully while making their decision. She could not hear every word, but she understood that they were thinking deeply. While waiting, she remembered her family. Thoughts of her home came to her mind. She thought about the mornings when she would wake up early to help with daily work. She remembered laughter and shared meals. These memories gave her both sadness and strength. Sadness because she missed her loved ones. Strength because those memories reminded her who she was. She was not just a prisoner in this moment. She was a daughter, a member of a community, and a person with value. She also thought about the future. She asked herself what would happen if her request was accepted. She imagined working hard, learning new tasks, and proving that she could be trusted. She understood that trust is not given quickly. It must be earned through actions over time. She was ready to accept that responsibility. She knew it would not be easy, but she believed she could adapt. After some discussion, the leaders reached a decision. They agreed to allow her to live under certain conditions. This decision did not mean freedom, but it meant survival. When she heard the words, she felt a quiet relief inside her heart. She did not smile widely or show excitement. Instead, she lowered her head slightly in acknowledgement. She understood that this was the beginning of a new journey, not the end of her challenges. They told her that she would need to follow rules and complete assigned tasks. She listened carefully to every instruction. She did not interrupt. She wanted to understand clearly what was expected. She knew that mistakes could create problems, so she paid attention to details. Her focus impressed some of the people watching her. They saw that she was serious about her promise. When she was allowed to stand again, her legs felt weak from kneeling, but she controlled her movements. She stood with dignity. She did not rush. She wanted to show that she accepted the agreement. Her calm behavior continued to surprise them. It was clear that she was not acting out of fear alone. She was thinking ahead. That evening, she was given a small space to rest. It was not the place she was used to, but it was safe. She sat quietly and reflected on everything that had happened. The events of the day felt like a long dream. Only hours earlier, she had been living her normal life. Now, her future looked completely different. She felt tired, but her mind was active. She thought about her decision to speak those words. Some people might see it as surrender, but she did not see it that way. She believed it was a choice made with wisdom. She had chosen life. She had chosen the possibility of tomorrow. That decision gave her a sense of inner peace. The next morning, she began her new responsibilities. She was careful and attentive. She observed how things were done. She learned quickly. Even when tasks were unfamiliar, she tried her best. She did not complain. Instead, she focused on improvement. Her willingness to work slowly changed how some people viewed her. They noticed her discipline and respect. During the day, she interacted with others in a polite manner. She avoided unnecessary arguments. She spoke only when needed. Her behavior showed maturity. Even though she came from a different background, she tried to understand the new environment. She believed that learning was the key to survival in any place. There were moments when she felt lonely. She missed familiar faces and conversations. Sometimes she would pause and look at the sky, thinking about her home. These moments were private. She did not share them with others. She knew that emotional strength was important. So she allowed herself to feel sadness but did not let it control her actions. Over time, people began to notice that she was reliable. When given a task, she completed it carefully. When spoken to, she responded respectfully. Her consistency built a small amount of trust. Trust did not come instantly, but it was growing little by little. This gradual change was important for her future. She also began to understand more about the people around her. By observing their habits and routines, she learned how to avoid misunderstandings. She realized that communication, even simple gestures, could reduce tension. She used eye contact, polite words, and calm behavior to show that she meant no harm. These small actions helped improve daily interactions. Her inner strength continued to guide her. She reminded herself that she had survived the most difficult moment already. Compared to that day, everything else felt manageable. This thought gave her courage. She believed that if she could handle that intense situation, she could handle daily challenges as well. As days turned into weeks, her life slowly became more stable. She adapted to new routines. She accepted guidance. She continued to show patience. The fear that had once filled her heart began to decrease. In its place, confidence started to grow. She understood that her future would depend on her choices and behavior. This second part of her story is about adjustment and growth. It shows how she transformed from a person facing sudden danger into someone building a new path with determination. Her request to live was only the first step. Now she was proving through action that she was worthy of that chance. She had chosen survival, and she was working every day to honor that choice. As time passed, the Apache woman began to understand that survival was not only about staying alive, but also about building trust. Each day brought new lessons. She paid attention to everything around her. She watched how people spoke to each other. She observed their daily routine. She listened more than she talked. This helped her avoid mistakes. She knew that one small error could create misunderstanding. So she moved carefully in every situation. Her work became part of her daily life. She was given responsibilities that required focus and patience. Some tasks were simple, while others were more demanding. No matter what she was asked to do, she tried to complete it properly. She did not rush. She believed that steady effort was better than fast but careless action. Because of this attitude, her performance slowly improved in the eyes of others. At first, some people remained doubtful. They did not know if she could truly adjust. Trust takes time, and they were cautious. However, they noticed that she followed instructions without argument. She respected rules. She did not complain about her situation. This behavior started to change opinions. When people saw consistency, they began to feel more comfortable around her. She also learned that communication was important. Even simple greetings and polite words could make a difference. She practiced speaking clearly and calmly. If she did not understand something, she asked respectfully. She avoided arguments and tried to solve small problems through discussion. These actions helped reduce tension. Over time, she became known as someone dependable. In her quiet moments, she continued to think about her past life. She remembered the land where she grew up. She remembered the sounds of nature and the feeling of freedom. Sometimes these memories made her feel emotional. But instead of allowing sadness to control her, she used those memories as motivation. She told herself that she must honor her past by living strongly in the present. She also reflected on the decision she had made when she fell to her knees and asked to live. That moment had changed everything. It was not easy to accept a new path, but it had saved her life. She felt proud that she had chosen courage over fear. She understood that pride is not always about standing tall. Sometimes it is about knowing when to show humility for a greater goal. As days continued, small signs of progress appeared. People began to include her in simple conversations. At first, these talks were short and formal, but slowly they became more natural. When someone needed help, she was often asked because she completed tasks carefully. This increased her sense of responsibility. She did not want to disappoint those who were beginning to trust her. There were still challenges. Adjusting to a different lifestyle was not easy. The food, schedule, and daily habits were unfamiliar. At times, she felt tired from learning new routines. However, she reminded herself that adaptation is part of life. Just as seasons change, people must also adjust to new environments. This understanding gave her strength to continue. One important change was how others started treating her. At first, they watched her closely. Now their eyes were less suspicious. She noticed the difference in their tone and expressions. This improvement gave her quiet satisfaction. She knew that respect is earned through consistent actions. She was patient, and her patience was paying off. She also made an effort to understand the culture around her. She paid attention to customs and traditions. She respected differences instead of judging them. This open-minded attitude helped her grow. She realized that learning about others does not mean forgetting oneself. Instead, it expands understanding. With this mindset, she felt more confident in her interactions. At times, she was given more complex responsibilities. These tasks required attention and organization. She handled them carefully. If she made a small mistake, she corrected it without hesitation. She believed that improvement comes from learning, not from fear of failure. This attitude impressed some of the people supervising her. They saw that she took her role seriously. Her calm nature became one of her strongest qualities. In situations where others might react emotionally, she remained steady. This stability made others feel more at ease. They knew that she would not create unnecessary problems. Over time, this trust allowed her to move more freely within her assigned space. Though she was not fully independent, she experienced more comfort than before. During this period, she also developed new skills. She learned how to manage tasks efficiently. She improved her ability to plan ahead. She became more organized in her work. These skills increased her value in the community she was now part of. People noticed her growth. She was no longer seen only as someone who had been captured. She was now viewed as a capable individual contributing to daily life. Even with these improvements, she never forgot where she came from. She carried her identity with quiet dignity. She did not speak often about her past, but it remained part of her strength. Her experiences shaped her personality. They made her more patient and thoughtful. She understood pain, change, and resilience. One day, while completing her duties, she reflected on how far she had come. She compared her current situation to the day she first arrived. The difference was significant. Then she had been uncertain and fearful. Now she felt more stable and confident. This transformation did not happen overnight. It was the result of daily effort and careful behavior. Her ability to remain calm under pressure continued to define her character. When small disagreements occurred around her, she stayed neutral. She avoided involvement in unnecessary conflict. Instead, she focused on her responsibilities. This approach helped her maintain a positive reputation. Trust continued to grow gradually. As relationships improved, she experienced small moments of normalcy. Simple conversations during work, shared instructions, and routine activities made her feel more comfortable. These everyday interactions helped her feel less isolated. She began to see familiar faces more often. While her freedom was still limited, her emotional state became stronger. She understood that her journey was not just about survival anymore. It was about building a new life step by step. Every task completed with care added to her progress. Every respectful interaction strengthened trust. She was proving that she could adapt without losing her dignity. This balance was important to her. Her story in this third part shows growth through action. She did not rely on words alone. She demonstrated her commitment through behavior. Day by day, she transformed her situation. What began as uncertainty slowly turned into stability. She showed that resilience is not only about enduring difficulty, but also about improving through it. By the end of this stage, she was no longer seen as someone who simply asked for mercy. She was recognized as someone responsible and dependable. Her journey of adaptation continued, but she had already built a strong foundation. Through patience, discipline, and quiet determination, she had turned a dangerous moment into an opportunity for change. As her days continued in the new environment, the Apache woman began to feel a deeper sense of stability. The fear that once filled her heart had slowly reduced. She still remembered the day she had fallen to her knees and asked to live, but now that moment felt like the start of a new chapter instead of the end of her old life. She understood that survival was not enough. To truly move forward, she needed patience, discipline, and inner strength every single day. Her routine became more familiar. Each morning, she woke up early and prepared herself for the tasks ahead. She learned the schedule carefully so she could follow it without confusion. Being prepared made her feel more confident. She realized that when a person knows what to expect, it becomes easier to stay calm. This simple understanding helped her manage stress and focus on her responsibilities. Over time, her behavior became more consistent. She arrived on time for her duties and completed them with attention. She did not rush through her work. Instead, she checked her tasks carefully to make sure everything was done properly. This habit made others trust her more. They noticed that she did not need constant supervision. She understood what was expected and acted responsibly. Some people around her began to speak to her more comfortably. At first, conversations were short and formal, but gradually they became longer and more natural. When people saw that she responded politely and respectfully, they felt less tense. Her calm tone helped create a peaceful atmosphere. Even small greetings and simple exchanges of kindness improved relationships. She also started learning new skills that were useful in her daily life. These skills required attention and patience. She practiced regularly, even when she felt tired. She believed that practice would help her improve. She did not allow frustration to stop her progress. Instead, she saw each challenge as an opportunity to grow. Her mindset became one of learning rather than fear. There were moments when she felt homesick. During quiet evenings, she would think about her family and the land she once called home. These memories were precious to her. She missed familiar faces and traditions. However, instead of letting sadness weaken her, she used these thoughts to remind herself of her strength. She had survived difficult circumstances. That meant she could survive anything with determination. She also became more aware of the importance of cooperation. Living in a new place required understanding and respect. She paid attention to how people worked together. She observed teamwork and communication. By watching carefully, she learned how small actions could create harmony. This understanding helped her interact better with others. She realized that cooperation can reduce tension and build trust. As trust grew, she was given slightly greater responsibilities. These tasks showed that people were beginning to rely on her. She accepted this responsibility seriously. She knew that trust is valuable and must be protected. Every time she completed a task successfully, it strengthened her reputation. She felt proud not because of praise, but because she knew she was proving her worth. Her confidence increased slowly but steadily. Confidence did not mean arrogance. Instead, it meant believing in her ability to handle challenges. She no longer felt as uncertain as before. She understood the system she was living in and knew how to adapt to it. This knowledge made her feel more secure. She moved with purpose and calmness. There were still strict expectations in her daily life. Rules had to be followed carefully. She respected these rules without resistance. She understood that structure was necessary for order. By accepting these boundaries, she showed maturity. She did not argue or question unnecessarily. Instead, she focused on fulfilling her duties in the best way possible. Her physical and emotional strength both improved over time. Working daily helped her build endurance. At the same time, managing her thoughts helped her develop emotional control. She became skilled at staying calm during pressure. This ability was one of her greatest strengths. When others felt stressed, she remained steady. This stability made her dependable. One important change was how she viewed her own identity. In the beginning, she might have felt defined by her situation. But as time passed, she realized that her identity was much bigger than her circumstances. She was not only someone who had survived a difficult moment. She was a capable individual with skills, experience, and wisdom. This realization gave her dignity and pride. People around her started to recognize her contributions. They noticed her reliability and respectfulness. She was no longer seen as a stranger who needed constant observation. Instead, she became part of the daily routine. Her presence felt normal. This transformation showed how behavior can change perceptions over time. During this stage of her journey, she also developed stronger communication skills. She learned how to express herself clearly and respectfully. If she disagreed with something, she did so calmly. She avoided emotional reactions. This balanced approach helped prevent misunderstandings. Her ability to listen carefully also made others feel valued. There were challenges along the way. Not every day was easy. Some tasks were demanding and some situations required extra effort. But she did not allow difficulties to discourage her. She treated problems as lessons. Each challenge helped her become stronger and wiser. She believed that growth comes from experience. Her transformation was gradual but meaningful. From the first moment she was given a chance to live, she had shown determination. Now that determination had become visible in her daily actions. She had built trust through consistency. She had built respect through patience. She had built stability through discipline. As weeks turned into months, she felt more comfortable in her surroundings. While she still remembered her past, it no longer felt like a wound. Instead, it felt like a part of her story that had shaped her strength. She accepted both her past and present as part of her journey. This acceptance brought peace to her heart. Her example began to influence others as well. Some people noticed her resilience and learned from her calm attitude. They saw how patience and respect can improve relationships. Without speaking loudly about it, she demonstrated the power of character. Her actions became her message. By the end of this period, she had changed significantly from the woman who once feared for her life. She had grown into someone confident, responsible, and steady. Her journey showed that even in difficult situations, a person can adapt and build a meaningful path. She proved that courage is not only shown in bold actions, but also in quiet persistence. Part 4 of her story highlights growth, trust, and transformation. It shows how steady effort can reshape a life. Through patience, learning, and respectful behavior, she created a new sense of stability. Her journey continued, but she was no longer the same person who first arrived. She had evolved through experience, and her strength had become even deeper than before. As time moved forward, the Apache woman continued her journey with patience and steady effort. She was no longer the frightened person who had once spoken from her knees. She had grown into someone stronger, calmer, and more confident. The environment around her had become more familiar, and she understood her role clearly. Each day was another opportunity to show responsibility and build trust. Her reputation had improved greatly. People no longer looked at her with suspicion. Instead, they saw her as dependable. When a task needed attention, she was often chosen because she completed work carefully. She never rushed. She believed that quality was more important than speed. This simple habit made a big difference in how others viewed her. Trust, once small, had now become steady and stable. She continued to follow rules and respect boundaries. She understood that order was necessary in any community. By accepting this structure, she showed maturity. She did not complain about her past situation. Instead, she focused on the present. This mindset helped her remain peaceful inside. She realized that constantly thinking about what cannot be changed only brings sadness. So she chose to focus on what she could improve. Her confidence grew in quiet ways. She did not try to stand out or seek attention. Her strength was shown through actions, not words. When problems appeared, she faced them calmly. If something did not go as planned, she adjusted and tried again. This flexible attitude helped her avoid frustration. She believed that mistakes are part of learning and learning is part of growth. Over time, she became an important part of daily life. Her presence felt natural. She interacted respectfully with others, and many people appreciated her positive attitude. Even small gestures, like helping someone with a task or offering polite words, strengthened relationships. She understood that kindness does not require big actions. Sometimes, simple respect is enough to create harmony. Although her life had improved, she never forgot her origins. Her memories remained a part of her identity. She carried them quietly in her heart. Instead of feeling trapped by the past, she used those memories as motivation. They reminded her of her resilience. She had faced a life-changing moment and survived through wisdom and courage. That experience made her stronger than before. There were times when she reflected on how far she had come. She remembered the fear she felt during the conflict. She remembered the moment she chose to speak calmly instead of reacting with anger. That decision had changed her path completely. She understood that one thoughtful choice can shape the future. This realization gave her a deep sense of gratitude. Her emotional strength became one of her greatest qualities. She had learned how to manage her feelings carefully. When she felt sadness, she allowed herself to feel it quietly, but she did not let it control her actions. When she felt stress, she took a moment to breathe and think clearly. This balance helped her remain stable. Emotional control became a key part of her personality. As months passed, she noticed that her responsibilities increased slightly. This was not a burden for her. Instead, she saw it as proof of trust. She accepted new tasks with dedication. She planned her work carefully and completed it step by step. Her ability to stay organized made her reliable. People began to depend on her consistently. Her transformation was not sudden. It happened slowly through daily effort. Every respectful conversation, every completed task, and every calm reaction added to her progress. She built her new life through patience. She did not demand respect, she earned it. She did not expect trust, she proved herself worthy of it. This steady approach became the foundation of her success. One important part of her growth was learning to adapt without losing her identity. She respected the culture and customs of the place she now lived in. At the same time, she kept her personal values strong. She believed that a person can adjust to new surroundings while still maintaining dignity. This balance helped her feel whole and confident. Her ability to communicate improved as well. She learned how to express ideas clearly and listen carefully. Listening became one of her strongest skills. By understanding others, she avoided misunderstandings. She realized that many conflicts begin with poor communication. So she made sure to speak calmly and listen fully before responding. This thoughtful approach strengthened relationships around her. There were still challenges in her journey, but she handled them with maturity. If something unexpected happened, she did not panic. She analyzed the situation and chose the best response. This calm decision-making showed her growth. She had moved from survival mode into stability. Her life was no longer about fear. It was about progress. She also experienced moments of quiet happiness. These were not loud celebrations, but small feelings of satisfaction. Completing a difficult task successfully brought her pride. Seeing trust grow between her and others made her feel valued. These positive experiences slowly replaced the heavy emotions she once carried. Her heart felt lighter with each passing day. In time, she realized that her story was not only about hardship, it was also about strength, patience, and transformation. She had proven that even in difficult circumstances, a person can choose dignity. Her decision to speak respectfully when her life was uncertain had changed everything. That single moment of courage had opened the door to a new future. By the final stage of her journey, she was seen as a respected individual. She had earned stability through effort. She had gained confidence through experience. She had built trust through consistency. Her life had transformed from uncertainty into balance. Although her path had been challenging, she faced each step with determination. Looking back, she understood that every part of her journey had meaning. The fear she felt had taught her patience. The new environment had taught her adaptability. The responsibilities had taught her discipline. The trust she earned had taught her the value of integrity. All these lessons shaped her into a stronger person. Her story ends not with fear, but with growth. She became an example of resilience and calm strength. She showed that even in the most difficult situations, dignity can lead the way. Her willingness to live, learn, and adapt allowed her to create a new chapter in her life. Through steady effort and inner courage, she turned a moment of danger into a lifetime of transformation. In the end, she was no longer defined by the day she fell to her knees. She was defined by the strength she showed afterward. Her journey proves that survival is only the beginning. Real success comes from growth, patience, and the ability to rebuild life with determination and respect.